Do you ever think about words? Does salary have anything to do with salt and sauce? How about across different languages? You can tell escribir and skriver are related to each other, or even schreiben and schrijven, but the word write is not related to them. The same way, war can't be related to guerre or guerra, right? Well, surprisingly, war and guerra come from the same word, just as insect and sex have the same origin. Intrigued? Stick around and let's look at etymology and some surprising origins of words. Hi, welcome to Snap Language. I'm Mark Franco. Words have a life of their own. They're born, change, reproduce by generating new words and by spreading into other languages, like viruses. And words even get old and die. They just fall out of use. In Latin, they use the word sal, salt, to create the word salarium. Old French borrowed that as salaire. Later, English borrowed that from French as salary. But what was the connection in Latin between salt and salary? Etymologists believe the word was salarium in Latin because it was salt money, or an amount to buy salt, which was very valuable back then. Historical linguistics studies language change over time. Etymology is a subfield of that. It's the study of word origins and derivations and how words change over time. For example, an oxa, many oxen in Old English, became an ox, many oxen in modern English. And that's why ox still has this irregular plural today. Words also change meaning over time. That's what historical linguists call semantic change. For example, originally when nice was borrowed into English from Old French, it meant foolish. Then over time it meant timid, fussy or fastidious, delicate, precise and careful, delightful, and finally, kind and thoughtful. We still have these meanings today, but we lost the original meaning, foolish. Except perhaps when you say someone is too nice. The word meat meant any kind of food in Old English. By around the 1300s, its meaning had narrowed to the meaning we still have today, only animal flesh. Okay, I need to make a disclaimer here. I am not a trained etymologist. I just know enough about the area and find it really interesting. So this video is not meant to be an in-depth study of etymology. That would be a really long video. War comes from Old French guerre. In late Old English, it became where, their sounds and meanings. How languages borrow words from each other and change their pronunciation to conform to the phonology of the language. Well, we learn how language itself changes over time, not just how it changed in the past, but also how it's in the process of changing right now. Latin sal changed in other languages into sal, sel, salz, salt, zout. Then from salarium to salario, salaire, salary in English. Much later, Japanese then borrowed salary from English as sarariman to mean a person who works for a salary in a corporation. Well, a white-collar worker. At its core, English is a Germanic language, but it borrowed words from many other languages. It borrowed heavily from Latin, mostly through French. In fact, around 60% of English words are Latin in origin. That's 2 out of every 3 words. But then, if English words came from this Germanic language and Latin, where did those languages come from? Well, many ancient languages left written and historical records that allowed you to go back and study how they evolved over time into today's languages. But can you go further back to before a language even had a writing system? You see, etymologists are really good at back engineering. They examined written and historical records to understand how languages changed. This way they could build backwards to reconstruct a proto-language. Here, proto means the earliest form of a language. So even without written records, they were able to model this proto-language that they call Proto-Indo-European. As people migrated over vast areas, they brought this Proto-Indo-European language with them, and it developed into Germanic, Balto-Slavic, Italic, that's where Proto-Latin fits in, Celtic, Hellenic, where Proto-Greek is, and Indo-Iranian languages. That's a huge spread. Business Insider has this great animated map showing how over an 8,000 year span, this proto-language spread all over Europe, Russia, and Asia, of course, changing into other proto-languages along the way. Check below the video for the link. And what did this Proto-Indo-European develop from? Well, before that, it gets really murky. You can't expect to go as far back as the first word ever uttered. Say the first word ever uttered really fast a few times. Etymologists believe the Proto-Indo-European root word for heart was kurd. I don't know how to pronounce words in these ancient languages, so use your imagination. Then, through progressive changes in vowel and consonant sounds, Kurd changed into words in ancient languages. Cardia, cardio, hurten, horte, heart. Heart is also associated metaphorically with courage and memory. From the root word to Latin cordis, of the heart, to the meaning courage, coraggio, coraje, coragem. In Latin, from recordare, literally to restore to the heart, they got remember. And over time, we ended up with record, meaning to repeat, to get something by heart. And then the modern meaning, I guess when you record something, you don't forget it, right? But of course, not all words came from Proto-Indo-European to Latin to English. Proto-Indo-European also branched into Proto-Germanic, and English actually developed from that, along with German, Dutch, Scandinavian languages, and so on. The root putter branched into different languages. Following something called Grimm's law, the sound p in Proto-Indo-European becomes Germanic f and v. And that's how we got words like padre, pi, pair, and pader, but father and fata, fada and far. In some cases, Proto-Indo-European branched out from brother to brother, but frater in Latin, and then it entered English in a roundabout way as a different word with a related meaning. So we ended up with brother, brotherly, but also fraternal, meaning brotherly. From duo to duo to dos, dois, deux, and so on. Duo became twi in Proto-Germanic and gave us zwei, twee, tol, two. Then again in a roundabout way through Latin, dual, double. That's why in English we often end up with so many different words with similar or even identical meanings. One with a Germanic and the other with a different origin, generally Latin or Greek. In the end, they often came from the same Proto-Indo-European root word that went through processes of phonological and semantic change, borrowing and reborrowing, and from a single ancient word, we ended up with two or more words in modern English. We can see that in these vocabulary words: broth, sap, or juice, or nectar, fear, dread, or aversion, or phobia, and so forth. Based on all these historical examples, you might think that this is all history and English is now set in stone. Oh, we've got plenty of words now, we're done. Well, English is not done at all. These processes of language change are always happening in any living language. Sounds are changing, new words emerge all the time. Old words take on new meanings. That happens slowly, so we don't even notice it very much. Take the famous difference in the pronunciation of caught and caught that we're losing in North America. In places where these vowel sounds have merged into ah, there's no distinction anymore between caught and caught. Also, hardly anyone pronounces the H sound in words such as where, when, or which. So they're pronounced where and when, and which and which have become homophones. Words are still being borrowed and adapted into English. Pizza, balcony, latte, buffalo, acai, cashew, sushi, haiku, manga, schadenfreude, delicatessen, Bas, lanai, and so on. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Think about it, whether we speak English or Norwegian, German, Portuguese or Polish, Russian, Bengali, Persian, or Kurdish, regardless. In a way, we're all speaking the descendants of some very ancient language, a proto-language that was lost in time. Oh, insect and sex. Proto-Indo-European sec, to cut. From that, we got words such as dissect, section, and segment. In Latin, insectare, to cut into parts. Insectum was used to mean an animal that's cut up into parts or has a body with segments. An insect. Possibly then, sexus, because you cut up or divide beings into genders. Sex. That's how insect and sex are related words. Is that cool or what? Languages change continuously, so what do you think English will be like in 100 years? And in 1,000 years? If you're multilingual, have you noticed some surprising connections between the languages you speak?
Shalom. All praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Rachak, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, pushing this 100% truth of the gospel, waking up and sealing the elect of the nation of Israel through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh. And salutations to all your sincere Akim out there that are pushing this gospel in all righteousness and in all sincerity, risking your lives and your freedom to do so. Alright, this is your brother about one, and I'm just going to get right into it. The book of Proverbs 14, verse 15, and it reads Proverbs 14, verse 15. The simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his goings. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the root word for etymology, and this is it right here, the root for etymology, which of course we already know what it means, the study of truth. I'm going to bring it out in the etymon line, and it starts etymology, which is a noun, late 14th century. Etymologia, facts of the origin and development of a word. I'm just going to go down a little bit, okay, starting with going back to the Greek etymologia, analysis of a word to find its true origin, properly study of the true sense, and they put in brackets of a word. Alright, with logia, we already know what the word logia means, study of, alright, or to learn. And the word, it goes back to there is a compound word, etymos and logia. Etymos meaning the truth, and logia. So the word etymology means the study of the truth. And this, okay, let me go back to the scriptures. Okay, as I was saying, this is why we go into the words. Okay, this is why we go into the origin of words. We get the etymology of words. We go into the Hebrew, go into the Greek. Okay, because these words are changing and they don't stay the same. They never have the same. They don't have the same meaning that they had when they were first written. Majority of the words that are written up in the scriptures don't have the same meaning, alright, as when they were first written. These words are ever changing, okay? They're not static. That's why you have to be constantly going into the etymology, to understand how the words are actually used. You go into the Hebrew to understand what the word goes back to. You look for root words, okay? There are reasons why these words exist, because words that were used back then, they have different meanings right now. Like for example, ruddy and swarthy, going back to now that it's being used to speak about either a red Edomite or a darker fleshed Edomite, when it was not actually the case, okay? Because in the past, it was being used to talk about Jake, a reddish brown complexion, or a dark, or basically just a regular dark skinned Jake, respectively. Alright, Roddy being used to talk about a reddish brown Jake, and Swarthy being used to talk about a regular dark skinned individual, okay? Whether an Israelite of the other nation, because it's not exclusive to Jake. Alright, I also have other words. For example, the word queen, which was used in the past as a as a whore, but now what they use it for, is, for now, but now it has a modern definition. The words like wife, going back to woman, husband, going back to planter. Alright, even words like wench, that it's used as an insult now, but so okay, as I was saying, that word is used as an insult now, but before it just meant a young woman. The same with the word virgin, just meant a young woman, but now the meaning of these words have changed, okay? And that's why, like the Apostle Gaba always used to say, you have to have a good understanding of, languages, both ancient and both modern ones. You have to have a good understanding of them before, to really be able to get into these truths, because that's what is relevant, okay? And of course, the language that you need to understand the most is the Hebrew. Okay, because now you have men that get on elders, get on brothers, that for going into the Greek, for going into the Hebrew, going into the etymology, talking about how they should just bring out what's in the Bible, and because these guys, they can't get it, okay? That you have to be that in order to fully understand the scripture, you have to be able to reference it, go into the Greek, go into the Hebrew, the words that they were originally written in, because a lot of words, and there are a lot of words, and a lot of their meanings, and a lot of their actual pronunciations get lost in translation, okay? And the meanings change over time. So the best way to get the original meaning, okay, the intent that the writer had, like for example, the biggest, bit of confusion that these Christians get from the scriptures, the book of John 3 verse 16. Alright, when that was written, the Apostle John, when he was writing that, his intention was that that the word that when the word that was world, and let me just go to it to make it easier to understand. Alright, the book of John 3 verse 16, and it reads, so okay, this is First Corinthians, not John. I was a little fast in the press. Okay, John 3 verse 16, and it reads, for the Most High so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And the original author, his intention when he wrote the word world, was the word of Israel, because you go into this word world, you see the word cosmos there, going back to the Greek, meaning orderly arrangements. Now anybody that sees that word world there will think that it means the whole world, right? The whole known world, everybody on the earth, Gentiles, heathen, and the like. But that's not actually the case, okay? Because if you go back to the root word, you know what that word cosmos actually means, orderly arrangement, a specific group of people, which are the Israelites. That is just so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. That is why you need to go back to the root. That's why you need to have an understanding of the root words, have an understanding of etymology. And of course, it's actually the spirit, it's telling you that the word etymology actually means the study of truth. All right, because if you don't know how to go into the etymology, if you don't know how to go into the root meaning of words, you won't be able to get this truth, man, because a lot of the understanding of the scriptures, a lot of the breakdowns is dependent on having that knowledge, okay? And this is the reason why, okay, not only this is the reason why you have to go back to these words, because if you watch the video that I actually you watch the video that came before this sit down, you should already have a good understanding of why you need to go back into the meaning of, you need to go back to the words, okay? Because not only did these devils change up the meaning of a lot of words, okay, but words also got changed up due to time. Their meanings got changed. They got the actual real meanings got lost in translation when they were taken from these different languages. And what you find out, okay, and what these devils don't want you to know is that all these words, okay, all the words, all the translations, they go back to the Hebrew. All these languages go back to the Hebrew, okay? because these devils, they will say that, oh, we don't know what the first language is. They'll try to bring up other languages to they'll try to use as the first language. But we know the truth, okay, that the first language is the Hebrew, okay. The first language is Hebrew. If the language that was spoken, by Noah, by Adam, by Noah's sons was Hebrew, right? Because that's the pure language, the true language. You go into history a little bit, they tell you that the first language with them actual alphabet, which all the modern languages that we have today was actually derived from, is the Phoenician, which of course that's the Canaanitic language, which is basically still the Hebrew. All right, but that's just Esau being Esau. They know what they know that the Hebrew was the original language, okay, but they never actually admit to it, because that would give that would give what's what I'm looking for, but it would give it would basically to show that the scriptures are the truth, to show that to show where the actual truth is, and that's what Esau wants when he's steering the whole world away from the truth. Okay, so now let me get another precept. I don't want the lesson to be too long. Just wanted you Akim to just watch that video. All right, just watch that video. I'm just going to bring out I also want to do a minor breakdown on it, just adding adding my 2 cents through the spirit. Okay, so this is the book of 2 Timothy 2 verse 15, and it reads, study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. That's basically what we're commanded to do. And once again, I said it before, as if you don't understand the root words, if you can't go into the Greek, you can't go into the Hebrew, you can't study a word and go into the origin of that word, you're not going to be able to get this truth, man, because that's a part of this truth. Okay, it's not if it's not only just to have faith, it's not only just to have faith, man. You also have to have knowledge. You just have to increase in learning. Okay, you have to increase and you have to study. All right, because that's an important part of this truth. Not just having faith, but also going into the words, going into having the understanding. That's why you always talk about how you go into prophecy, you go into history, right? We go into different things. As a prophet, as a man of the Lord, you have to have a little bit of everything. That's basically just good advice for anything in life. Not just being a prophet, but in this case, that's what we are. That's what we deal in, because even the Apostle Gabriel said it, that we are wordsmiths basically. As men of the Lord, we deal in words. We deal with the use of words. Right, so having a proper knowledge of those words, of the truth behind those words, of the meaning behind those words is relevant. All right, we need that. It's an important part of our study, of our understanding, and of our teaching and this ministry. So yeah, let me just end it right there. I don't really want to go too deep into this. So with that, let's give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh, Ba'asham Rachak, Wadash, Wa Abad Babal, and through the spirit of you Akima, you Akwas were edified. Shalom.